Testing. Audio testing. Video testing. Well, it's 11:59. The live streaming event begins at noon on this Saturday, August 18th. 8/18/2018. Interesting sequence of numbers for a date. 888. So how is the audio? How is the video? And it's noontime. Time for another live streaming event with me, rickmiracle. Any commenters out there? Any viewers? How's the audio? How's the video? A little feedback gets me started. Takes a second or two after I speak for the information or my voice to show up on YouTube. It's funny watching the video of me with the time delay. Noontime. Time for another live streaming event. How's the audio? How's the video? It says one person is watching. On this Saturday at noon. Well, let me begin. A little opening statement might be in order. What do people believe is the truth? Do they believe there's a World War III coming? Or do people believe that's not going to happen? Even though Albert Pike wrote a letter to his friend Mazzini, a high-ranking Freemason in Italy, about the 3 world wars that would be required to bring about the New World Order, a global revolution, a global world order. And the first 2, as per his description in that letter, happened exactly like he said. And the 3rd description of World War III is happening as he described. That's just no small coincidence. And there's so much more out there indicating that we are in line for a huge change in our world. Politicians, religious leaders are all saying those words. Global religion, global currency, global world order, new age. So what are we to believe? And if you talk to a lot of people these days, they will tell you that get with the program, Rick. There's no God, there's no Jesus, it's all a myth, allegory, a metaphor. So the mind control programming is working. And how far will it go? How far has it gone? How far is it going? So anyways, today's live streaming event is a result of some of the information. The commenters watching my videos, they passed on some information to me. So I thought I would talk about an interesting topic. So, as we all know, when you make a video, people get to put comments on the bottom. And this one was yesterday's video. The Odin Yin plan for a greater Israel. And I got some comments here I'd like to talk about. It's coming soon, Rick Miracle has been saying for years now. I wasted so many years. So anyways, Hugo says, the Satanic Temple unveils Baphomet statue at Arkansas Capitol. The Satanic Temple has unveiled its statue of a goat-headed, winged creature called Baphomet in a rally at the Arkansas State Capitol to protest the Ten Commandments monument already on the Capitol grounds. So, if you've been watching my videos or you know how long I've been doing this, it's a slow and tedious task to try to figure out WTH. What the heck is going on? It's hard for the human mind to fathom the unknown. It's all a lot of superstition, a lot of false information. What are we to believe? The Kabbalah material, the Rosicrucians, the Freemasonic Bible, Morals and Dogma, the Christian Bible, the Old Testament, the New Testament, the politicians, the U.S. Constitution, the United Nations, President Donald Trump, Israel, the Pope. Who are we to believe? What are we to believe? So anyways, my approach to that problem is just taking baby steps. A little tiny bit of information at a time. And I think it can get formulated in the brain so you can kind of see what's happening. Can't rush a thing like this trying to find out WTH. So anyways, Hugo sent me this comment at the bottom of the yesterday's live streaming event, 8/17/2018, and you can go read it entirely. But he discovered, believe it or not, in the news, a press release or information release where they were putting up the statue of Baphomet at the Arkansas State Capitol. This was yesterday. This is live happening now. Unbelievable. A statue of the devil being put in front of the Arkansas State Capitol. Some people will laugh it off and giggle and say, oh, it's nothing. It is something. It raises or changes the consciousness of people. There does seem to be a battle. And it's taken me a while to kind of get an idea of what that battle is. But I was reading some material, and I have a small clue. Apparently, if you believe in God, the creator of the universe, which I do, and he tried to create a benevolent, peaceful, loving world, like the Garden of Eden with all the fruit, and the people didn't have to do anything, ran around in their bare feet and naked, and it was all bliss. But God said, do not eat of the apple tree, the tree of knowledge. But then the serpent came along, the opposer of God, and said, hey, I'm paraphrasing, of course, you can eat of the tree of the apple. God just doesn't want you to know all the things in the universe. You really won't die like God said. So Adam and Eve partook of the tree of knowledge, the apple. As soon as they bit into the apple, they looked at each other, paraphrasing again here, but it gives me a clue as to what we're dealing with. They looked at each other and said, whoa, you're naked. And they ran and grabbed some leaves and tied it around themselves. And then when they heard God walking into the Garden of Eden calling out, Adam, Eve, paraphrasing of course here, they hid in the bushes. And so God says, where are you? And he notices they're hiding in the bushes. He goes, what are you doing hiding in the bushes? And they said, well, we're naked. And God said, who told you you were naked? Did you eat of the tree of knowledge, the apple tree? And of course, yes, we did. And they were exiled from the Garden of Eden. And the serpent who tempted them was punished. allegory, metaphor, whatever. That's the story. So anyways, you have God trying to create a world of bliss, and then you have one of God's highest angels, Lucifer, who was opposing God, had a different belief system, and he didn't want a Garden of Eden. He wanted a world where the strongest, the most intelligent, the most deceitful, the most conniving could be the ruler of the world and keep everybody in line. So either rule by dictatorship, Lucifer, or humanity living in love and peace, creations of God, who sent Jesus, who added one more commandment, if you go look in the Bible, and that is, thou art to love one another. So the battle is, God wants a peaceful, loving world for everybody. Lucifer philosophy says, heck no, the strongest and the most intelligent, and I'm the most intelligent and the most beautiful and the most wonderful, can rule the world with all my minions below me, princesses who will rule all the people. So there's this battle. Equality for all and love. The meek shall inherit the earth. Isn't that what God says? Jesus says. But the Luciferic satanic agenda is not that way. Now think about that with a global world order. All this modern technology, artificial intelligence, knowing everything about you, monitoring everything you do, even facial recognition, body scans at train stations now. Crazy. Electromagnetic radiations. They'll be able to target people like a crazy movie, you know, where you say a swear word and some meter nearby goes bing, bing, bing. And what was that movie with Sylvester Stallone? Judge, I guess, or something, one of them. Anyways, it seems like that's the situation where in the heaven world there was a rebellion. And of course in the Bible it says a third of the angels joined Lucifer in his rebellion. And so that's the story. And so there is this world religion right now that is the fastest growing religion, and that's the Church of Satan. And according to this comment by Hugo, in Arkansas, I guess published somewhere, I have the document right here, is they are yet again unveiling a statue of Baphomet in front of a state capitol building, like they tried to do in Oklahoma, and they wound up taking it to Detroit. So my commenters are saying they hide their Luciferian intentions behind the nice words and ideas, like help the immigrants. I agree. Annie says there was no apple. Eve conceived the son of Satan. Cain was the result. Well, according to the Rosicrucian material, Annie, God put Samuel, Satan. This is in the Rosicrucian material. I made a book review on it. Series number 140, looking at my bookshelf. And he put the divine being Samuel on the earth in the Garden of Eden. And to have a companion for Samuel, Satan, he created Eve out of the earth. So Eve would have been a human being from the earth and water. And Samuel was a divine being, part human and part divine. Anyways, they did mate and had a son named Cain. And then Samuel got tired of being on this earth and wanted to return to the heaven world. So he abandoned his wife. So I guess we know what that makes Cain. And so God, feeling sorry for Eve, created Adam, and they had another son. They had a son called Abel. And then the first son, whose father abandoned him, who was divine, was jealous of the human boy Abel, so he slew Abel, according to the Rosicrucian material. So there are many variations to these stories. And so Adam and Eve had a second son named Seth. So the lineages of people, or the followers of religion, however you want to describe it, are descendants of followers of Cain, the first murderer, or followers of Seth, the human byproduct of Adam and Eve. And so we have the good people and the evil people. Get my hands messed up here. Everything is backwards on the screen. When I raise my left hand, it looks to my right hand on the screen. Anyway, so that's the story. There are many different stories out there, which is the point of this video today. What are we to believe? And I do believe this video is going to go over an hour on the live streaming event because I have 3 books I want to read from. So thank you, Hugo, for giving me the heads up. The link is right here. You can go look in the comment sections of yesterday's video. www.usnews.com. News, best states, Arkansas. You can see the thing. So I did go look it up. So here we are. This is real. People can giggle. People can laugh. They can say it doesn't mean anything. Well, I say to heck with that. If they're putting this statue in front of the Arkansas State Building to protest the 10 Commandments, I would say it's significantly important. Significantly. Because I also remember, and I'm sure other people do, back in 2008 and 2007 when there was the huge uproar of approving or not approving of in the states gay marriage. And I'm driving in my vehicle from Florida to New York and listening to 2 o'clock in the morning radio chatter, people talking. And the consensus was that gay marriage will never be approved because 65% of the population were opposed to it. So that would leave you with 35% of the population who were for it. But I remembered the Florida lottery situation when that was the same, and one press release or one news reporter talking to somebody about that, about the lottery's loss. The people didn't pass it. In Florida, the expert or lottery guy said, it's not a problem, it's just a matter of education. And the next year, the year after, they had another statewide vote, and the supporters increased after all those videos about all that money going to go to the schools and help the people. It was propaganda, marketing, re-education. So eventually the lottery in Florida was approved by the voters. So they know how to use the propaganda. This is real. And the same thing with the gay marriage in 2007, 2008. In 2009, it gained 5 points. We had the movie Brokeback Mountain. We had press releases where little boys were giving nice letters to their teacher about his 2 daddies. And all this propaganda and cartoons. It was just coming. And of course, eventually, it was a landslide. And the Supreme Court even said states cannot ban gay marriage. And that very evening, there were giant rainbow colors on major bridges and Capitol buildings and other monuments all over the country, maybe the world. This is no small battle, and I think it has everything to do with this guy. And he's got 2 little children there. He's got wings. He's got the witchcraft symbol above his head. The goat's head, horns, serpent in his belly there. So you can go look up, and if you look at the date on this thing, it was yesterday, or the day before yesterday. August 16th, 2018. So this is real. This is happening right now. And it's increasing, like passing the lottery in Florida and the other states, or the gay marriage issue. And they're demonizing, and the press releases and the propaganda are making haters out of the Christian. You're having this battle come to full bloom between God's desire for a world and Satan, Lucifer's desire for a world, with two different philosophies. One wants to be a dictator and a ruler, and not fairness for everybody or love, and do all the things that are pretty much contrary or opposite to the Ten Commandments. And I know that's hard for a lot of people to deal with, but it is what it is. So I did go on the, I'm looking for a clue here in my research, and I did go on Yahoo image site. A picture does speak 1,000 words. And I looked up Baphomet, the pictures, and you can do it too, and you can click the links. Like I said, this is not a hurry bit of research. You can take your time, get a cup of coffee, and just go on Yahoo image site, type in Ancient God Baphomet. You can see what I have up there. And then take a look at the pictures. You got the donkey-headed Egyptian man there with the Ankh. The T means divine. The circle on top is serpent, divine serpent. Here's your Baphomet character. Madonna in the Super Bowl was dressed up like that. And then you have the bull, Moloch, people clicking these association with these pictures with Baphomet. Here you have Moloch again eating humans. So apparently there are forces and people on this planet that are worshiping this Luciferic, satanic, Baphomet entity, and that part of that religion, like you can see in this picture, is sacrificing children to the deity, sacrificing humans. And it involves some kind of deity all the way as far back as Egypt with the hieroglyphics. This didn't start yesterday. And again, you can go on Yahoo image site. You can see some of these images. You can click the pictures and click the links. All kinds of historical information. And even here somebody's linking it to the pyramid all-seeing eye on the dollar bill. So that's Baphomet. And then, of course, I did take a peek at the and did another search on Satanism, the fastest growing religion. Did you know that? Do you believe that? It's important to kind of get a handle on what you know and what you believe. What's the truth? It says here, Anton says, every effort to reach others means something. Slowly, slowly, we await the 100th monkey phenomenon. When enough people wake up, everyone will. You're doing a great job, Rick. God bless. Well, thank you. So the satanic agenda is moving at breakneck speed, like a freight train, towards us, and a lot of people are not aware that in this particular instance, I looked up Satanism, fastest growing religion. You can do this too. Please. Take the initiative. Go out there and look it up. Read some of this stuff. Why is Satanism the fastest growing religion? Oxford University says Satanism fastest growing religion in America. Satanism and witchcraft are the fastest growing religions in America. Oxford University. So is it true? And if you go out on the city streets or pull in front of the tattoo parlors and see what kind of symbols people are putting on their bodies, you might scratch your head and go, it looks like Satanism is the fastest growing religion, and everybody's getting in the groove and getting a demon tattoo, a dagger, and all these other symbols. Bulls, horns. Live stream has stopped. I just got your comment. Let me look at the thing here. There's my picture. It'll probably come back in a minute. But then again, it wouldn't surprise me if they want to stop this conversation. Well, I'll take a moment here to see what happens. Well, I guess there's another way to... Is live stream still stopped for everybody? Have they cease and desisted my video? Any feedback? Now back. Alright, keep me posted here because I'm going to continue pointing this out. I have a whole lineup of material here. So there's plenty of evidence here to suggest that Halloween, also in this article, and this search, that Satanism is the fastest growing religion. Halloween is the biggest day of the year for the fastest growing religion. On page 96 of the Satanic Bible, Anton LaVey wrote the following. After one's own birthday, the two major satanic holidays are Walpurgisnacht, May 1st, and Halloween. Halloween is the biggest day of the year of Wiccans, white witches, black witches, Satanists, neo-pagans, and occultists of all stripes. Did you know that? And it is becoming the most popular holiday. Of course, they have been demonizing Christians and trying to discredit Christianity. And discrediting thing is a tool used by lawyers, if you didn't know that. It's an intentional process of winning points or winning law cases. All right, so let's say you want to get divorced and get custody of your children. Your lawyer will tactfully instruct you on how to discredit your spouse, do things to make them angry, and then when they get angry, you call the police and create a police record. All of it a created incitement and event so that you can have documented information that your spouse was a little erratic or mentally ill. It's called discrediting, and it's a common tool used by lawyers all the time. FYI. So if you wonder in any particular law case between yourself or you see something happening to friends and bizarre things are happening, it's because the lawyers behind the scenes are instructing their client on how to create a case where the other person can be discredited. And some people get pushed over the brink and commit suicide and stuff. It's not a very nice thing, discrediting somebody. And you can make people angry and say certain things that they will get angry and be bringing this problem onto themselves and not know why it's happening. Had to refresh the entire page, then sent to 2 other pages before I could get to yours again. Well, maybe somebody doesn't want people to be listening to this material. So I did go look up some more information. I was reading some more information. But I think I'd like to read from a couple books and come back to what I'm talking about here. And the one I want to talk about first, when I talk about Baal, Baphomet, Moloch, these demons, I'd like to check a few sources. And the one I have here that I've been reading for the last couple days and rereading is the Encyclopedia Judaica, published in 1973. Probably the first time. There's 18 books to this series, encyclopedias, huge and heavy as you can see. And so if it's published in Israel by the intellectual people in Israel, the first time ever that all this material was published in English, so anybody can get it. Now my question is, are we to believe what's in this encyclopedia? Or should we look at it and kind of realize some of it's going to be tainted in favor of Israel? That's okay. You can catch that when you're reading it. But at least it gives a few clues. So the cult of Moloch. And I've been talking about Moloch because I'm completely convinced, like the pictures I just showed of Baphomet, that it's the same entity that we've been fighting all along. And here they're putting people into a fire, into this mouth of this being, sacrificing people, throwing them into the fire. And when Moses came down the mountain and they were worshiping the bull on top there, he smashed the 10 commandments. So again, you have this battle between God and Lucifer, and the people disobeyed God's laws and went with Lucifer, Baphomet, Baal, Moloch, Satan, and all these other names. That's what pagan means, many gods. And different cultures call these demon gods by different names. So don't let that confuse you. When you go look it up on Yahoo image site and you print out the pictures like I do, you can start to see the similarity. The serpent, the bull, the owl, and so much more, over and over and over. And when you read from the Encyclopedia Judaica, or when you read from Morals and Dogma, or you read from other books, I have one here that I've been reading the past couple days, Satan, the Prince of This World, by William Guy Carr. And I've been doing my reading here. You can see it's highlighted. So I got 3 books to read from, just to give us a small piece of evidence so that people can wrap their minds around this problem and see what we're battling. And even Jesus said in the Bible to the Pharisees and the Jews, the ones that crucified him, and remember, Jesus was sent by the God who wants love. Jesus added the commandment, thou art to love one another. Lucifer, one of the greatest angels God created, didn't want to have it that way. He said, I can rule with an iron fist and a dictatorship and keep everything in a harmonious things. I don't need laws. I can be a dictator and have princes under me and enslave the people. So there was a battle on the philosophy on the creation of humans and how we live. Apparently, there are numerous dimensions above this human dimension, third dimension. And apparently there's one below us, the eternal fires, hell, Hades or hell, whatever you want to call it. And then above us, there are apparently, I'm just theorizing here from my research, above this dimension, there are 7 dimensions, one above the other. And I suppose as a soul grows, in its growth, it can rise to the different levels of angels and archangels and higher beings, according to some of the philosophy I've been reading in these different books and everything. I'm trying to get a handle on what reality might be. And where is this information coming from with the channeled materials? All those channelers people are following these days, all the books written. Where did the prophets get the information? Where did Jesus come from? Who are these reptilian gray aliens? Why are they abducting humans and creating hybrids? And why is all this technological weapons coming online that seems to be preparing to embrace a global world order and control everybody 24/7, like what Lucifer, Satan, wants to do? God wants everybody to be free. So there's this utopia that certain people want to follow. And as I said earlier, Satan accused the Pharisees and the rabbis back then, the ones who were opposed to his preaching, where a lot of other Hebrews were listening to him and loved his teachings. So not all Hebrews or Jews were all on one side or the other. It was a divided camp. So he called them, "Ye are of your father the serpent." The serpent is a representative of Satan, who apparently the Lord in the Bible, it says he turned Lucifer or Satan in the Garden of Eden into a serpent because of what he did tempting Adam and Eve, the human beings. Whether you want to call it a metaphor or an allegory or whatever else, that's not the point. All of the, to me, whether or not Jesus was real or not, and all these arguments are not important. What is important is to understand that what these forces believe, and I can't see the logic in destroying Christianity because it is a teaching that we are to love one another. I can't see the logic of following the Satanism and Luciferianism and Moloch religion where they sacrifice humans. It's not logical to turn away from love your fellow man and don't have wars, and then turn to kill your fellow man and have wars. What is wrong with the minds of people that they would choose murder and perversion against love and caring and sharing on the planet? So for me, with the Christian teaching in Jesus, I'm staying that camp. So let me read about this. I'm just saying, when you think about the logic, if some people don't want to believe, fine, but you have to join one force or the other, whether you believe in God or not, or Jesus or not, is not what I'm trying to say. Joining these Satanisms or the progressive liberals, and of course not all the people that are Democrats or liberals know about this or actually a part of this. Unknowingly, they are playing the game. And even in the Republicans and conservatives and Christians, they're using a lot of good, decent people and deceiving them also. I believe both parties are controlled by the evil forces. All right, so it says in the Encyclopedia Judaica, evidence concerning Moloch worship in ancient Israel is found in the legal as well as in the historical and prophetic literature in the Bible. This is the Encyclopedia Judaica. If you don't want to believe, that's fine. It's in this encyclopedia. It says here, concerning Moloch worship in ancient Israel. The testimonies of the Pentateuch, the Old Testament, literature of the Bible, the testimonies of the Pentateuch, I'm saying that wrong, which seem to be the most ancient and therefore the most reliable ones, should be divided according to the formulation of the law into two groups. The law of the holiness code, which speak about the giving or passing children to Moloch. Giving or passing children to Moloch. And the law in Deuteronomy, which speaks of passing one's son or daughter through fire. The author of the Book of Kings, who was influenced ideologically and stylistically by Deuteronomy, speaks about passing sons and daughters through fire, which actually constitutes a conflagration of the formula of Leviticus with that of Deuteronomy. And on these Encyclopedia Judaicas, you can go on abebooks.com and other book sites, but abebooks.com seems to have served me best. Usually free shipping, and you can pick up a book like this maybe for $4 and sometimes $10. There's 18 to the series, and for $4 and free shipping, you can get books. There's 18 of them. Just pay attention to the alphabet, which one you're buying. And it might take you a few months or whatever. It took me a couple months and I got all 18. But it has invaluable information. And I learned about this by watching some Harry Hubbard videos. And the information is actually quite unbelievable, as you shall see here. In all these sources, there's no mention of burning or sacrificing, slaughtering children to Moloch. Those latter terms are found, on the other hand, in the prophetic sources. So they're saying that in all the different sources, the educational institutes didn't have the mention of slaughtering children. But on the other hand, if you go to the prophetic sources and other books, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and one may add here Isaiah and Psalms, the difference in the presentation of the Moloch worship in the legal, historical, and in the prophetic sources is significant. So they're trying to say in some sources you can't find it, and in some sources you can. In the Encyclopedia Judaica, I'm finding it. The legislator has to be precise in his formulation. So the legislator, or the ruling people, when they published material, they didn't come outright and say burn or sacrifice your children. Therefore, this description is more trustworthy than that of the prophet or the preacher. So they're saying the politicians are more trustworthy than the prophets or the preachers. What do you think about that? So when you read these books, you have to have a discerning mind. At any rate, the fact that the legal, historical, in contrast to the prophetic sources, do not mention real burning should serve as a warning against a hasty identification of Moloch with human sacrifice. And this is one of the reasons in the Jewish culture for 2,000 years, I've gone over books about this, where they were doing human sacrifices in some of their rituals, that it was the straw that broke the camel's back. There were a lot of frictions and problems with the Jewish people in these different countries over 2,000 years. But, they would find another dead body of a young child with all kinds of pinholes in it where the blood had been drained. And they drank the blood and they put it in bread for some kind of religious ceremony. And all of a sudden the local town folk would grab their pitchforks and maybe sometimes massacre the Jews or run them out of town with pitchforks. And finally, maybe the government of Spain or Britain or Italy would banish them, exile them forever. And then years later, people would forget and they would come back. And they brought this religion back with them. FYI, and it's in the books here. The distinction should be made between human sacrifice. Think about this for a minute, how they're trying to justify this. The distinction should be made between human sacrifice as a sporadic deed at the time of a crisis or distress, such as a holocaust or of the son of the Mishnah king of Moab, or an act which serves to express an unusual degree of religious devotion, as the binding of Isaiah. And on the one hand, in the Moloch cult, which was established institution with a fixed location in Topieth, on the other. Excuse me, sacrificing people, period, is not acceptable. Just because you lost a war or you're mad at somebody or having a religious devotion is not an excuse. And this has been a problem with these people all along. They want the liberty and freedom to practice their religion, which means they have to abduct young children and drain the blood and do that sacrifice deed. And it caused them problems for thousands of years. It's in the Encyclopedia Judaica. I made videos about this on other topics in these books. There's tons and tons of words you can look up, different topics. Moloch, the devil, Satanism, occultism, on and on. Alchemy, Kabbalah. It's in these books, the cult of the Hebrews. It even says in the Encyclopedia Judaica, the historic religious cult of the Hebrews was the Kabbalah. The Kabbalists were wizards and magicians and witches and were usually often accused of witchcraft. A lot of kings and queens and wealthy people hired these people to be their magicians and prophets and talk to the other side or get kind of things done like having people killed. Am I still live? 12:43. Not getting very far here. Between the Carthaginian child sacrifice and the Moloch institution, As the classical sources have it, the sacrifices of children at Carthage usually came after a defeat and a great disaster. So after they would lose a war, they would have a sacrifice of children. A religious practice based upon the ancient mythological tradition. Okay, so I'm going to stop here and look at another book. I said I'm going to run over an hour on this video. So I was reading one of the topics on the 19th degree in Morals and Dogma, the Bible for the Freemasons. And a lot of people want to say the Freemasons have nothing to do with Israel or with this New World Order or with the King Solomon's Temple or any of this. It's a benign social group and organization. What do you believe? So listen to this as I read through this. We're talking about Moloch, Baal, Baphomet, the devil, Satan, and other pagan deities that apparently is part of this new religion coming to planet Earth. When they bring us this huge worldwide revolution that they've been planning for, the same duplicate copy of the revolution that happened in heaven, the cosmic battle between Lucifer, who rebelled, and a third of the angels joined him. If you keep all this in your mind when you're reading this stuff, you can see the clues. And the different philosophies that God has versus Lucifer has for controlling humankind, having the humans move on and grow. One of them wants a world dictatorship that's quite bizarre, with the opposite commandments of the Ten Commandments. And of course, God wants everyone to love each other, not steal and murder and be perverted and worship idols and all that. Read the Ten Commandments if you're unsure of what they are. And remember, none of us are perfect. We're all, to some degree, sinners. That's in the Bible. But I think the philosophy or how you think and your intentions are what are important. And apparently believing in Jesus, believing in God, trying to be a good person is probably 99% of the battle. And it doesn't matter if they kill you on this planet. You're not getting off this planet live anyways. Apparently what's more important is those other levels above this dimension, the other 7 levels, or the 1 level below it, which is probably the densest, an internal fire that doesn't burn. It's just a living hell, I guess. And people get to have a choice which philosophy they want to embrace. And being ignorant and stupid is not a choice. You have to pay attention to this and use your discerning mind and see what they really want to do. Why would they demonize Christianity and be trying so hard to get people to walk away from it when it doesn't make logical sense, when the ultimate commandment by Jesus was we are to love one another? But they're trying to say, well, these Christians want you to obey the Ten Commandments and not be decadent and perverted, so hence they are haters. That's the argument coming from the Luciferic, satanic, Moloch, and the other deities' world. There is a cosmic battle. We are spiritual beings. There are higher dimensions above us. And apparently this is where the information is coming from with all this channeled material and all this other stuff. There seems to be plenty of evidence that we're spiritual beings. Project Montauk, MK Ultra, gray aliens coming through walls, leaving through walls, spaceships opening up portals, going in and out of this dimension. I don't deny that other world exists. I say it does exist. I say it's clearly defined in historical monuments in the Bible and everywhere. It's common sense. People can go to the hospital and talk to nurses and doctors about children and other people who have died and have been revived, and talked about the lighted tunnel and meeting people, telling them it's not their time. I've made many videos on these topics. I'm convinced. So what does this say here, Morals and Dogma? I just went to the back of this book and looked up Lucifer, and then it said to go to page 321. So I decided to read it, and it was interesting, so I thought it'd be part of this conversation. Listen to what the Albert Pike says about the Freemasons. We build slowly and destroy swiftly. We build slowly and destroy swiftly. That makes me think about this coming online of the artificial intelligence software, beast computers, weaponized microwaves, directed energy beams, and all this propaganda, Monsanto, toxic foods with herbicides, pesticides, and so much more. We build slowly and destroy swiftly. So when they bring this system online, they'll be able to take us down like that, just like 911. It took them a year to put all those demolitions and have plans to bring those towers down. A year or more. But when they pulled the trigger on September 11th, it was all over in hours. Wes says, I'm back. Our ancient brethren who built the temples at Jerusalem. So here Albert Pike is saying the ancient Masons were building the temple at Jerusalem with many myriad blows, felled, hewed, squared the cedars and quarried the stones and carved the intricate ornaments. So it took them years to build King Solomon's temple. I don't argue with that. Which were to be the temples, stone after stone, by the combined effort and long toil of the apprentices, fellow craft masters. The walls arose, and slowly the roof was framed, fashioned, and many years elapsed before, at the length, the house stood finished, all fit and ready for the worship of God. So they built King Solomon's temple for the worship of God. What God? Gorgeous in the sunny splendors of the atmosphere of Palestine. So back when he wrote this book, when was this one published? I think he wrote the Morals and Dogma in 1888 or something. This is 1962 edition, but they were calling that land now called Israel, Palestine. FYI. So they were built, a single motion of the arm of a rude, barbarous Assyrian spearman, or drunken Roman or Gothic legionnaire of Titus, Rome, moved by a senseless impulse of the brutal will, flung in the blazing brand, and with no further human agency, a few short hours sufficed to consume and melt each temple to a smoking mass of black, unsightly ruin. So it took him years, the Freemasons, to build King Solomon's temple, and then the Assyrians and the Romans came to Jerusalem and set it on fire and destroyed it. Be patient, therefore, my brother, and wait. The issues are with God. To do of right belongs to us. And make no bones about it. These people following the Lucifer religion, thinking that they should be this pyramidal kingdom where they have a dictator at the top, the all-seeing eye, they really believe. A third of the angels didn't follow Lucifer because they didn't believe. They didn't want to do it the way God wanted it done. So they think Lucifer is actually the shining star, the light bearer, and God is actually the evil one. But I explained the philosophies. Therefore faint not, and be weary in well-doing. Therefore faint not, nor be weary in well-doing. Be not discouraged at man's apathy, nor disgusted with their follies, nor tired of their indifference. Care not for returns and results, but see only what there is to do, and do it, leaving the results to God. Soldiers of the cross, sworn knight of justice, truth, and toleration, Good night and true. Be patient and work. The Apocalypse, that sublime Kabbalistic and prophetic summary of all the occult figures. The Apocalypse, that sublime Kabbalistic and prophetic summary of all the occult figures, divides its image into the sepentaries, after each of which there is silence in heaven. So I wanted to look up the word Apocalypse on the Yahoo image site. Not too good. Looks like some of the movies they're making. Everything is in destruction. Pay attention to the words when you do this research. Go look up the images. So they're talking about the Apocalypse, that sublime Kabbalistic and prophetic summary of all the occult figures. This is what you can expect with this battle. Is there any doubt in anybody's mind? Here's more here. So this wonderful world that's been built with the interstates and skyscraper towers, excuse me. Somebody wants it all destroyed. Back to the book, Morals and Dogma. So they're saying here, with all the things they're doing with the Apocalypse and the sublime Kabbalistic, after each of which there is silence in heaven. Well, I suppose in heaven, 2/3 of the angels, all the advanced souls, people who lived before, maybe some souls that never lived as humans, whatever, there was silence in heaven. You think so after that Apocalypse? There are 7 seals to be opened. That is to say, 7 mysteries to know, 7 difficulties to overcome, 7 trumpets to sound, and 7 cups to empty. So it takes a while reading this stuff to try to understand it. I agree to that. That's why I say when you're researching this, take your time. Watching my videos, take your time. It takes a while for it to get here and make a little sense. I agree. It's just because most people aren't used to contemplating or looking at the world from outside, looking in. They're just paying attention to the here and now. But if you can back up and you can relax and you can ponder history and ponder these things and look at these pictures, you might get an aha moment, and it may be the thing that helps you elevate your own soul. Maybe that's the key. And according to what I'm about to read, it seems that's the case. The Apocalypse is, to those who receive the 19th degree, the apotheosis of the sublime faith which aspires to God alone and despises all the pomps and works of Lucifer. Here's Lucifer. Lucifer, the light bearer, strange and mysterious name to give to the spirit of darkness. Lucifer, the son of the morning. It is he who bears the light, with all its splendors intolerable, blinds feeble, sensual, and selfish souls. Doubt it not, for traditions are full of the divine revelations and inspirations, and inspiration is not of one age nor of one creed. Plato, Philo also were inspired. The Apocalypse, indeed, is a book as obscure as the Zohar, another Jewish popular book, like the Talmud. It is written hieroglyphically with numbers and images, and the apostle often appeals to the intelligence of the initiated. Let him who hath knowledge understand. Let him who understands calculate. He often says, after an allegory or the mention of a number, St. John, the favorite apostle and the dispositary of all of the secrets of the Savior, therefore did not write to be understood by the multitude. So all of the secrets of the Savior, therefore did not write to be understood by the multitude. They don't want the multitude, most people, to understand this stuff. Why? The Sefer Yazarah, or Zohar, and the Apocalypse are the complete embodiments of occultism. Did you just hear me? The Sefer Yazarah, the Zohar, and the Apocalypse are the complete embodiment of occultism. A lot of people are into the occult. And this is the complete embodiment of occultism. Just saying. If your mind can't wrap around the words, look at the pictures. They contain more meanings than words. You think so? Their expressions are figurative as poetry and exact as numbers. The Apocalypse sums up complete and surpasses all the science of Abraham and Solomon. The visions of Ezekiel by the river Shebar and of the new symbolic temple. They want to rebuild King Solomon's temple again. These people into this religion, who I guess see some vision of a world apocalypse. The new symbolic temple are equally mysterious expressions veiled by figures of enigmatic dogmas of the Kabbalah, and their symbols are a little understood by the commentors as those of Freemasonry. The more the great hierophants were at pains to conceal their absolute science, the more they sought to add grandeur to multiply its symbols. The huge pyramids and their triangular sides of elevation, square bases, represented their metaphysics, founded upon the knowledge of nature. That would be witchcraft. Secret knowledge of nature, how nature works. They use that knowledge to the detriment to the rest of us and for their own selfish, evil purposes. That knowledge of nature had for its symbolic key the gigantic form of the huge Sphinx, which has hollowed its deep bed in the sand while keeping watch at the feet of the pyramids. So that was the second source, looking up the word Lucifer and reading a little bit of that, and we get a picture of the Freemasons deeply embedded in the same goals as the people who are controlling Israel today. And to some degree, I'm agreeing with some material that people say that, it's not the Jews. Even Jesus said that these people were not Jews. Those who call yourselves Jews but are not, this is in Revelations, I think Revelation 9, but ye are of your father the serpent. So apparently the people who are behind this, into this Luciferic, satanic, Moloch religion, it's not a religion or an attack on the Jews. It's a battle between these evil forces who want to rule humankind and bring about a worldwide revolution. And some Jews are part of it, as well as other people, even the Christian leaders or so-called Christian leaders who are supporting building of Israel, and even the Congress people I talked about yesterday voting to make it illegal to boycott Israel, say anything bad about it. Like a lot of countries in Europe, it is illegal to talk negative So let's just change those words for a minute. What they don't want you to talk about is the Luciferic agenda. Moloch, Satan, whatever you want to call it. And there's other names. Baal, Baphomet, Baal. Speaking of that, I did go look up something interesting. I was wondering about it. We used to have in my town, where I live now, a holiday called Bell Share Festival. So they bring us these holidays. Bell Share Festival, Asheville. So I did know that another name for Baal is Bell, and I remember the festival they had in Asheville called Bell Share, and I thought to myself, when was Bell Share, and what does that have to do with all of this? So anyways, I did go look it up, and they celebrate it at the last weekend of July. Looking, the last weekend in July, it says here, where my finger is. So then I went and looked up witchcraft holidays. Last weekend of July, it was Bell Share. And here it says, Witches and Warlock Annual Wiccan Holidays. So I said, I was wondering if the last weekend of July was in there when they were doing Bell Share, and Bell's another word name for Baal, the demon, Baphomet, Satan, Lucifer, Moloch. Limas, or Harvest Eve, July 31st. This holiday celebrates the first harvest. So this is a witchcraft holiday. So people don't even know that they're being part of these festivals. Kind of crazy, huh? So there's more here, but I wanted to read from this book. I said this live streaming event would go over 1 hour because I wanted to read from the 3 different books. Satan, the Prince of the World, of this world, by a retired military commander who wrote a lot of other books. And I did want to get the other books, but they seem to be cost prohibited on books if they're not just a couple bucks. I got 1,000+ books. I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars. I have to draw the line somewhere. When they get too pricey, I don't buy them. Pawns in the Game and Red Fog Over America, 1955 to 1957. But this particular book was just a few bucks. And I said, well, I'll get that. I wonder what Commander has to say, what the story is. And there was one particular topic in here that I thought I would read about. Lucifer, the greatest of all the angels created by God, challenged his Creator's right to exercise supreme authority over the universe and all on and in it. So all on earth and all over the universe and everything in it. So let me just read from this and see how it fits in with this other material. And I've got more, and I did have this other document I wanted to do today, but it would probably be unbelievable and just too much for people to fathom. But I thought if I did what I'm doing today first, and then maybe tomorrow went back to this document I've been reading about, 97 pages, copied from 4 or 5 different websites, looking up the words see what I got here. Some call it communism, I call it Judaism or something like that. But it's about all this plan about white genocide and so much more information about the so-called Jewish plot to rule the world. And I'm saying it's not a Jewish plot. It's a spiritual entity called Lucifer and other beings, a third of the angels. A lot of them are not in human form. They may be taking human form. They may be creating hybrids. That seems to be what's happening. And they're trying to bring Earth under their control with this worldwide religious revolution. Did you guys see the shiny new Baphomet statue at the Arkansas Capitol? That's what I started talking about in this video. If you go look at the beginning, I started talking about that and showing pictures. So let's talk about this book here, Prince of This World, by a retired commander who comes across on this research in the same mind frame the rest of us with. It just boggles the mind. But it appears to be true. When we see they're putting that new Baphomet statue in Arkansas that I talked about and showed pictures of in the beginning of this video, Lucifer, the greatest of all angels created by God, challenged his creator's right to exercise supreme authority over the universe and all on and in it. Yet he is mentioned only once in the Holy Scriptures. Isaiah 14-12, King James Version. There are two other places where it seems reasonable to suppose the words used refer to Lucifer. Those are Luke 18:10 and Revelation 19.1 through 11. The Holy Scriptures' lack of revelation regarding why Lucifer challenged the supremacy of God, and the fact that in the Holy Scriptures Lucifer is identified with Satan, makes people believe that Lucifer and Satan are one and the same supernatural being. Study the secret writings of men who have at various periods of history directed the world revolutionary movement. That's what's going on right now. That's what's been going on 100, 200, 300 years. Since the 1776, the same year the United States was created. But Rothschilds directed Adam Weishaupt to infiltrate all the Freemasonic lodges and convert them and put them under the control of the Illuminati. Illuminati to light. Lucifer is bright light. Lucas Trust is another name they switched to. Helena Blavatsky changed her magazine from Lucifer magazine to Lucas. It's all about this light being, which would be a spirit being. There's nothing mysterious about it. It says it in the Bible. It says it in a bunch of other texts under different disguised stories. The Book of Enoch, fallen angels, archons, Nephilim, Elohim, even maybe the metaphor Marduk, Anunnaki aliens, Nibiru, the dark star. Same thing, just painting it with different colors. Okay, so there is this cosmic battle, spiritual battle. Here's just a couple books I pulled off the shelf a moment ago before I started. But they're telling us about the late great planet Earth. Hal Lindsey. Confronting the New Age. The Soul Hustlers. An expose of the hoax of astrology, the UF mystery that will not die, and what the psychics don't tell you. The Soul Hustlers. This whole conversation apparently is trying to make people go one way or the other. The philosophy of God and Jesus love one another, or the dictatorship. They're deceiving everybody to go along with the satanic agenda, Luciferic agenda, where they have a Pharaoh or a Caesar or some king rule the world. And apparently some Jewish people in Israel today, Zionist Kabbalists, believe this deity, Satan, Lucifer, whatever you call it, that apparently can have its existence in a chest, an Ark of the Covenant, which is why they built King Solomon's temple. It's just a replica of the tabernacle where they put this chest. It says that they're the chosen people to, I guess, take charge of the world. And I went over the book, The Jewish Utopia, and so many others. This picture starts to come together if you think about it. Letters of instruction dealing with the Luciferian doctrine and dogma have from time to time fallen into the hands other than intended while being circulated for instructional purposes. So even these evil forces, they put this stuff in writing. They intended for it to never get out there to the public. But things change in the world. Even these books, in the index, it says this Morals and Dogma book was never intended to be in the public, and that it's supposed to be returned to the Freemasonic Lodge upon the death of the Freemason. They did not want people reading this material. The common man they called profane. And I suspect there was probably a matter of money in the Encyclopedia Judaica, but they probably didn't suspect that Christians or other decent people would get their hands on the Encyclopedia Judaica and start reading that stuff and waking up their minds to the truth. Okay, back to this. Study of the world revolutionary movement indicates that it is very important to decide whether or not Lucifer and Satan are one and the same supernatural being. I missed a paragraph here. I'm going to go up ahead and read again. So these documents and letters had fallen into the hands of others while being circulated for instructional purposes between those who direct at the top and their immediate subordinates. In my humble opinion, says this commander, the revolutions concerning the Luciferian doctrine and conspiracy are just as much acts of God as are the revelations and inspirations which make the Holy Scriptures the inspired and revealed Word of God. He says, I believe that because God, Adonai, is just and merciful, He intended that all His creatures on earth, whom He put here to work out their own eternal fate, should know every detail regarding both sides involved in obtaining possessions of our souls for all eternity. So apparently, on these different levels, dimensions above earth, there is a portion, a dimension set aside for this hell, for this kingdom for Lucifer. And he is battling for souls of men and women. When you die, he gets to grow his kingdom. Does that give you goosebumps? It does me. Study of the world revolutionary movement indicates that it is very important to decide whether or not Lucifer and Satan are one and the same supernatural being. So when you see them releasing that statue of Baphomet, placing it in the front of the Arkansas State Building, and all the other things I've talked about in hundreds of hours in these videos and book reviews, you start to get a picture that this cosmic spiritual world does exist, and that when Jesus was sent here, whether you want to say it wasn't real or an allegory or a metaphor, I don't care. But the philosophical teaching is what we need to consider. And if you're concerned about just your own personal soul growth, that of your family, your friends, your children, and generations to come that are going to wind up in one dimension or another, do you want them to be deceived into the Hades, hell dimension set aside for these rebellious cosmic angels and beings? If this is true by this commander and the Encyclopedia Judaica or Morals and Dogma and the many other books I've been going over. That's why I read from these books, so you can get a better eye on believability. Instead of me trying to tell you what I think, I read these sentences and talk about them. Search of the Holy Scriptures will not reveal a definite ruling. The most famous theologians who have lived since Christ have shield clear of making a definite pronouncement. Famous theologians, teachers, have shield clear of making a definite pronouncement of this particular question. But men who have directed the world revolutionary movement at the top, we know what they're trying to do today. They're preparing for it with all this systems coming online, including FEMA camps and bullets bought by the government and surveillance systems and weaponized biological weapons, electromagnetic weapons, and so much more. Legislation being passed. You try to boycott Israel, you could get fined $250,000, probably imprisonment. And to the extreme, if they can't stop somebody, probably assassination. Look at what John Kennedy, what happened to him after he said the secret societies are repugnant to the American way of life and I intend to expose them. He was assassinated days almost later in a Masonic Delaney Plaza. And apparently there's some accusations saying that Bush Sr. was in charge of the CIA and had 3 different assassins on the scene. What are we to believe? And of course, George Bush Jr. goes to Skull and Bones, John Kerry, all these people belonging to these mystery religion organizations. And what are they? Well, we're talking about what they are in these books. Moloch, Satan, Lucifer, Baal, Baal, festivals, Halloween, so much more. Baphomet. But men who have directed the world revolutionary movement at the top are very definite in their belief that Lucifer is God and the equal of our God, whom the Luciferians refer to as Adoni. So these Luciferian worshippers believe that their God is equal to our God. So they're battling for your soul, my soul. So how do you protect your soul when you die? Because you could die today. You could die tomorrow. You could die 20, 50, 100 years from now. I don't know. But you're going to leave the planet eventually. And what you think, what you did, what you believe is going to dictate where your soul goes. Where do you want your children's souls to go? Do you want the cartoons and all the teachings in the public school systems to sway them so that their souls are stolen for eternity? I think you don't want that. These are tough things to say. You got to do a lot of work to even wrap your mind around this. They claim that Lucifer is the holder of light, the God of goodness, who struggles for humanity against Adoni, father of Jesus. I said that part. It says here, Adoni, the God of darkness and evil. So the father of Jesus is supposed to be the God of darkness and evil. Do you believe that? And all wickedness. And remember, a lot of people are calling Christians haters because they're not joining the pansexual bandwagon. And if they did join it, they would be joining the Luciferian team and have sold their souls. We can't do it. Albert Pike, who worked out a military blueprint of wars and revolutions, which he calculated would bring the Luciferian conspiracy to its final stage upon this earth. Remember, this is a retired commander military. William Guy Carr, who wrote other books, stated definitely in his letters to fellow conspirators that Satan, although prince of this world, is definitely inferior and subordinate to Lucifer. So if Lucifer is a deity with his own kingdom, albeit a dark kingdom, probably not equal totally, but pretty powerful, and he has princes on different planets. On planet Earth, his administrator, his prince, is Satan, according to this material. So like I said, you learn a little bit at a time. So that was about Lucifer in this document. So I've got more to do here before I end this video. I want to look at some more pictures I have here that I printed out for this conversation, then I can end this video. But when I looked up Moloch, again under Yahoo search results. The ancient god, Britannica, Wikipedia. You can go find the pictures on Yahoo image site. The ancient pagan god of child sacrifice. Anybody missing this here? The ancient pagan god of child sacrifice. Of course, this was forbidden by God's world. So if you stick with God and the Jesus teachings, and I'm sure this God was influencing other religions and other people all over the world. God isn't just the God of the Christians. Because I took a comparable commandments course, comparable religious course in community college, taught by an Iranian teacher. And she showed that all the commandments of the different religions of the world were similar. So, obviously, the spiritual world, the world of God, is trying to influence everybody to help them save their souls when they leave this planet, dictating where they go. Apparently, planet Earth is a school, and I guess you are identified by what you do and what you intend to do when you leave this planet, where your soul goes. And apparently there are different dimensions, and maybe you get second chances and reincarnation. I'm not sure about all that. But it does seem that the spiritual world does exist, and there is a battle for your soul, my soul, the children's souls, and friends and neighbors' souls. And with the people going along with this 911 and murdering the Palestinian people, it's all about intent. And look at Gandhi, just being passive and submissive. He winds up being stronger than these demonic evil forces. And the commandment in the Bible is, thou shalt not kill. That's period. There's no little asterisk and say, this is when you can kill. And remember, what's really important is our spiritual souls. And apparently, there's books published. The Soul Hustlers. Who was the Canaanite god Moloch? Moloch worship included sexual worship of Ashtoreth. So there's a lot of talk about satanic sexual rituals and all that. The cult of Moloch in the Jewish Virtual Library on the bottom there. Moloch demonology. Bohemian Grove, Moloch worship. JesusIsSavior.com. Who is Moloch? So apparently this Moloch entity is real. Apparently it has a huge influence on the people who control our world. There's a little owl perched on the $1 bill on one of the ones, the top left-hand one. And it's represented by the owl or the bull. And they have a big picture of a bull being handed children. Bohemian Grove, a lot of our politicians were photographed there, throwing children into the fire. They said, well, it was just a plastic child, an effigy. And I'm saying, what the heck does that matter, whether it's a real child or a plastic child? What the heck are you doing having a ritual throwing a baby in the fire? Isn't it all about intent? So I suspect it was a real human. They don't do these religious, satanic rituals for nothing. So you got a celestial battle in heaven. A dimension has been set aside for people who will be deceived into joining this religion of a deity who wants to control the planet this way. Plenty of pictures. You can go look this stuff up. Dark secrets inside the Bohemian Grove. I've got pictures with Reagan there, Kissinger, and other famous people. Alex Jones snuck in there, took a video of the ritual. It was like a Halloween party. Like I said, it can be an owl or a bull. Moloch. Horns. Baphomet, the statue in Arkansas, has the horns. Baal, they all have the horns. You can see the politicians and many other people doing the devil sign with the horns. The 3-6 sign. The one-eyed sign. And then, of course, they tried to put the archway of Baal, B-A-A-L, in New York and London. And later I found out they were putting 1,000 of them from UNESCO, the Educational and Science Department of the United Nations, all over the world. Why would they be putting these archways to the devil in New York and London and in 1,000 other cities if this is not going to be part of the one world religion? So I looked this up on Yahoo, and you can go do this. You don't need me to do it. Get these keywords and go look them up, print this stuff out, show it to your friends. This is a pretty comprehensive peek at these devils, these beings, this new religion. Do you want to know? And what is the religion of the people who want to rebuild King Solomon's temple today? And even President Donald Trump says that the U.S. recognizes Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. That's all part of this. Launches 89 missiles towards Syria recently, the mother of all bombs dropped in Afghanistan. And the Congress now passing legislation that you can't boycott Israel. They're going to make it illegal, like it is in many countries all over Europe, to say negative things about the Zionists who have this particular religion and this goal supporting the Luciferic Satan agenda of a world dictatorship. Is that plain enough for people? You can go look this up. Temple of Baal. Arch unveiled. Arch of Temple. And if you go to Fact Check and you go to Snoops, they're going to tell you sparked inaccurate and online rumors. But if you continue to read, you'll find out they just delayed it. But Snoops is always trying to discredit things, and people are coming out and saying that they're a paid-for organization. And I've said several things to people, and they've gone on Snoops and met me the next day and said, "You're full of it, Rick. Snoops says it's not real. So it can't be real." So people can be convinced of things they don't want to believe in anyways. The harbinger of Baal appears in New York City. Temple of Baal arch concealed for New York City. Temple of Baal gateway arch is going up in New York City. So you can verify that this is actually the case. So the Temple of Baal. So who is this Baal? I looked that up on Yahoo search. Ancient god Baal. Ancient deity. Ancient Canaanite deity. Wikipedia. Here's some pictures. Wait a minute. Isn't that Moloch? Isn't that Baphomet? Get the pictures and start checking this out for yourself. You're going to see that when you look up Baphomet, Baal, Baal, Moloch, Devil, Lucifer, Satan, you're going to see all the same symbols. So here's the Yahoo image search for Baal. There's the bull. So people are associating this with this. I'm not. I went and got the Yahoo images. There's the bull. So why would they be putting an archway to Baal, Egyptian hieroglyphics, in New York City and London, paid for by UNESCO, your tax dollars? Aren't you concerned? Aren't you disturbed? And it's not just in Egypt or the Middle East or the symbols here in the United States. This stuff didn't just come out of nowhere and doesn't exist everywhere. It is everywhere. I looked up the god Siva, god Siva. And apparently a lot of this comes from some ancient knowledge in the Hindu religion. So the evil is all over the world. Whether it's a divine good being like God or Jesus, or an evil force, there are similarities. Here's another one about the god Apis. When I was reading Morals and Dogma and continuing to read the Encyclopedia Judaica on Moloch, and this other book I ran across Apis, it was just showing many names of these deities. So this is the god Apis. Do you notice a similarity here? It's the bull. It's Moloch. It's Egyptian. So whether you call it Moloch, Apis, Baal, Bel, Baphomet, Satan, Lucifer, remember they put the image of Shiva projected on the Empire State Building. Why would they do that? The goddess of destruction. A big projection of a goat on the Hoover Dam. That's the symbol for the Baphomet, the statue I just showed you at the beginning of this video. Why would they do that? We know why they're doing it. These people believe in this Luciferic satanic religion. They really believe that they're doing the right thing by creating a world dictatorship, and that God was the evil one giving us 10 commandments, telling people what they can or cannot do. So I guess it's the big battle for your soul is, do you want to believe God and say, hey, I'm going with your commandments and I want to follow you? Or you're saying, heck no, I'm going with the Lucifer dude and his satanic prince that runs the planet with his other cohorts, Baal, Moloch, Bel, Baphomet, because I want to do whatever I want to do, like Aleister Crowley taught in the Book of the Law. Go watch my video series 23, Freemasonry and Satanism. Horrific stuff in that book, and don't say the words, the incantations. If you read them, there's satanic rituals. And a lot of this is several books when I showed them, I couldn't read the rituals because they can do things to you, cause possession or the manifestation of these evil entities. So there was a little bit more I was reading in this book. Satan, prince of this world. Look how he has the little horns on the one here. I mean the O. It's backwards, I'm sorry. When I point this way, the picture has it going that way. Anyways, you can see the little horns on the O. So after I just finished reading about Lucifer in this book, there's another title here called Satan by this retired commander who wrote numerous other books. Satan, the scriptures use the word Satan quite often and tell us about his evil purpose and works. He is, as the word implies, the adversary of God. Satan is invariably associated with Lucifer. Most Christians accept the fact that Lucifer and Satan are one and the same supernatural being commonly referred to as the devil. The key word here is supernatural being. And believe it or not, when you die or I die, we have souls that leave the body. So I suppose that would be a supernatural being. We would to reduce or return to being our spiritual self, our soul. So that world seems to clearly exist. And apparently there's some kind of organization to it, and a creator and a controller, God, and an adversary, Lucifer, who has almost equal powers to this God. And there's a battle for souls. And Earth is probably one of those proving grounds. Those who have directed the Luciferian conspiracy, this would be your Illuminati types, all the mystery school adherents to these different temples and lodges, upon this earth have been very definite in pronouncing the doctrine that Lucifer is God. And people will try to convince you of that. There's some small notes here on the bottom. While we recognize the truth that the devil Lucifer is the father of lies, as told to us by Jesus Christ, and the synagogue of Satan, and so that's what Jesus accused those people who were opposed to him, ye are of your father the serpent. In the Revelations it says, I know who you are, Jews who call yourselves Jews, but are not. So we're not talking about Jews here. We're talking about people who are following the synagogue of Satan, the fastest growing church on the planet. All the symbolism is everywhere. The propaganda, like in the lottery or gay marriage, trying to change the minds of people worldwide, is everywhere. And people are starting to hate Christianity. Somebody is building the momentum for a worldwide chaos and anarchy event. They want to change the way the world is run. The synagogue of Satan, who direct the Luciferian conspiracy here on the earth, are sons of the devil, masters in the art of deception. Masters in the art of deception. Got it? Get it? Fake news, 9/11, World War I, World War II, assassination, President Kennedy, Boston bombing at 666 Boylston Street, Sandy Hook where the journalist holds up a picture of the owl Moloch, Washington, D.C. street plan like an owl obelisk in all our city squares and parks, symbol for Osiris. His son Horus, the all-seeing eyes on the dollar bill, the pyramid, symbols for Isis everywhere. Get it? Got it? It says here, says Commander William Guy Carr, I still maintain, however, that a great deal of truth can be learned from the secret writings of men who were the high priest of the Luciferian religion in their day. And I've been collecting those books, whether it's Helena Blavatsky's Theophist Society, Morals and Dogma, Albert Pike, and many others, because they never intended that their pronouncements on this all-important subject should fall into the hands other than the intended. As well as will be proved in the other chapters, many men have directed the ceremonial and dogmatic executives of the synagogue of Satan and the Luciferian religion since Wushoff died in 1830. They include Moses Holbrook, Albert Pike of the United States of America, Mazzini and Limi of Italy, and most recently, Aleister Crowley of England. Pike and his direction of the Luciferian conspiracy are dealt with fully in other chapters. So I was reading over here. Those who have directed the Luciferian conspiracy upon this earth have been very definite in their pronouncement, the doctrine that Lucifer is God and Satan is the prince of this world. There is a scriptural support for the belief that there are 5 or more other worlds over which Lucifer placed princes and several others. So according to this material here, there is scriptural support there is scriptural support for the belief that there are 5 or more other worlds over which Lucifer placed princes, and several others, in addition to claiming that Satan is the eldest son of God, Adonai, and that the older brother of Jesus Christ, also claim that Jesus Christ is one and the same person as Saint Michael the Archangel. They claim that when God decided to inhabit this earth, Lucifer made Satan prince of this world. This claim is confirmed partially by scriptures, which refer to Satan as the prince of this world, John 14-30, 16-11, and EPH 2-2. The Luciferian doctrine teaches that Satan, using human agents, developed the Luciferian conspiracy so well that God, Adonai, decided to send Saint Michael in the form of Jesus Christ to halt the conspiracy as he had done in heaven. Those who worship Satan as prince of the world and Lucifer as god of the celestial world claim that Christ failed in his earthly mission. So they're trying to convince us of that. But remember, it's not about these physical bodies we need to worry about. It's your spiritual soul. And only you can give it away. Choosing the wrong God and the wrong social philosophy to believe in. Do you believe we should all love one another? Or do you believe the powers that be should continue to kill more Arabs and eventually bring about a global world order and purge all the Christians by beheading them by the recently passed Noahic laws in Congress when all the members of Congress were gone on vacation, dismissed for the day, and the government purchased 30,000 guillotines? And in places like Dominican Republic, they built these huge buildings with Mayan sacrificial temple pyramids on top of these huge buildings. And Hillary and Bill Clinton visited that place in the Dominican Republic. And inside is a long hallway with doors on your left and your right with bars on the windows. There's cells. And of course in Haiti and Dominican Republic and all that is a lot of stuff with voodoo and a lot of demonic stuff going on. So will they be shipping people and having these satanic, Luciferic sacrifices and beheadings at this facility in Dominican Republic? And Hillary apparently broke down in tears and said she can't wait to see the facility in operation. Oh my. Of course, Haiti having the earthquakes, and a lot of the politicians, presidents went down there, ex-presidents, had a lot of people donate money, and a lot of people saying that money never showed up to the people to help them in the problem with the earthquakes in Haiti. So these satanic forces are seizing every crisis, every opportunity to grasp more control, more power, more wealth. You can look this stuff up. Don't believe me. They claim that when Christ refused to accept the overtures of Satan, his betrayal and death were arranged in such a manner that the Romans acted as judge and executioners of the synagogue of Satan, while the high priest used mob psychology to make the Jews reject Christ. So the high priests today, who control our educational system, the TV programming, the economy, the movies, the magazines, our world, are using mob psychology right now to turn people away from Christianity. They want to convince people to give up their souls. So it seems. From my rationalizing what I'm reading in all these books and all this material. Mob psychology to make the Jews reject Christ as the Messiah and then to assume the guilt for his crucifixion. And they're trying to use mob psychology and reprogramming of we humans to convince everybody to join this new world religion about the 6 million Jews killed in the Holocaust It's part of this new religious dogma they're creating, and they're saying so that they can control the world so such a thing will never happen again. But then again, I'm thinking after World War II and all those millions of German troops surrendered, and men and women and children, the people like Eisenhower and these elites, apparently from this Luciferic satanic world revolutionary movement, wanted to dispose of all of those German men, women, and children. That was a really serious massacre holocaust, you think? And then after World War I, the Bolshevik Jews invaded Russia, abducted the Tsar and his family, took him to a farmhouse and shot them all, and then proceeded to kill 25 million Christians and other good people, tear down the Christian churches, not the Jewish temples. And some writers estimate 100 million people died in Russia after World War I. So can you see the philosophy of this Luciferic satanic religion, this cosmic battle going on here on planet Earth, and they're trying to deceive everyone? All right, Silver Thought says, exactly right, Rick. Few people know this true history of World War I and World War II. All right, one more short paragraph and I'm going to end this video. How far does this information go? Study of history indicates very strongly that those who have directed the Luciferian conspiracy upon this earth have made it their special business to make as many Jews as possible defect from God. So a lot of Jews are being sucked into this vacuum with the program called Aliyah. A lot of Jews don't know what they're being dragged into, but they're causing anti-Semitism all over the world, so people will move back to Israel after generations of being gone. And if you don't think it's serious, look at this guy. So for the last 100 years, it's a fact, they've been causing all kinds of chaos, anarchy, economic suffering, and other kinds of chaos and anarchy to get the people to leave, to go back to Israel, so that they can have a population of people. And not a lot of Israel people are following for this and are protesting over there in Israel. But there is a plan. They plan on a greater Israel. And like I said in the beginning of this video and yesterday's video, they have whole thousands of troops at computer monitors every day. You can have resources and controls of our military here in the U.S. and probably Europe. And they seem to be bringing us a lot of destruction and problems and blaming it on we the people for causing global warming. And they do have plans for a greater Israel, and they need to get the land from the Euphrates to the Nile, and apparently even annex all of North Africa, the southern portion of the Mediterranean. And they have nuclear weapons and a program called the Samson option, where if the world tries to stop them, they're going to release those nukes and take down the world in a flaming inferno. This is what this Luciferic satanic culture entities will resort to if they have to. And you saw the pictures about the destruction of all those buildings. So they have a program called Aliyah. And apparently that six-pointed star is Rephaim, another name for Moloch, Baal, Baphomet, Satan, Lucifer, Apis. So people are falling for this Aliyah, the rebirth of Israel, which apparently is going to be the home base, i.e. the Jewish utopia. I've talked about this. And retired intelligence officer Robert Williams, series 67, The Jewish Utopia. Go watch my couple 2-hour videos on retired intelligence officer Robert Williams, the ultimate world order, because he discovered a book called The Jewish Utopia. So apparently these people are convincing people worldwide. Don't these people look happy? Immigrating from France and America and everywhere. And probably a lot of them get recruited to belong to those programs, to monitor everything we're doing, control all the events that are happening every day, destruction, chaos, anarchy, planning, bombing, shootings, maybe directed energy weapon causing fires in Canada. I had a person send me a comment the other day. It's horrific. Hundreds of fires going on at a time in Europe and California. Meanwhile, families are flying from all over the world to their safe haven to Israel in a program called Aliyah. And the Prime Minister is there to greet them. This is no small thing. There's Prime Minister Sharon. And he said in a heated argument in his Congress, don't worry about America. We control America. And the Americans know it. Do you know it? And you can go look it up. You don't have to believe me. So I think now, tomorrow, I can read from this 97-page collection of material I copied over many websites and tell you what some of these people are saying. It says here, the difference between Jews and Gentiles are not religious, historical, cultural, or political. They are rather racial, genetic, scientifically unalterable. The one group is at the very root and by natural construction totally evil, while the other is totally good. And that is a Ramanuth Yisrael, rabbi of Sadia Gama. There's nothing to talk about. Zionist and masochist. There's nothing to talk about. They are the Satan himself. The rabbis speak out. So much material in these 97 pages. Here's another one. He said before his passing that the reason of the rabbis who went over to the Satan's side, the Zionist, was the reason why he was leaving the world, for this upset him to his very core. So this rabbi says, he said before his passing, he's dying, that the reason of the rabbis who went over to the Satan's side, the Zionist, was the reason he was leaving the world. For this upset him to his very core. You think? This guy, Rabbi Yichel Mekin Epstein, Russia, 1829 to 1908. And I don't know what this says. I haven't read it before. Woe to us, for our holy Torah is in imaginable decline. The Torah is like the Old Testament, the good Bible. The Talmud is like the Kabbalah, the witchcraft manual, and the book for the recipe for globalism and the evil dictatorship and perverted sexual and economic and murder strife of the world. So this guy saying the holy book Torah, the good Bible for the Jews, is in unimaginable decline, especially now that the hated movement called Zionism, and remember, 65 congressmen and 250 representatives in the video I made the other day. 2 days in a press release, they're passing a law to make it illegal to boycott Israel. And all over Europe, it's illegal to talk about Zionism. So you can be imprisoned or assassinated or whatever else if this information gets out. That's how important this battle is between the followers of Jesus, Christianity, and God and other religions. They're destroying the Islamic religion too. And they probably, according to Aleister Crowley, they're hating the Hindus and the Buddhists and the other people of the world. This is not a worldly situation. This is above this particular dimension. And it's our souls they are after, so it seems. Silver Thought says, but do any Jews follow the Torah? Well, Silver, there have been many Jews who follow the Torah. Of course, many Jews are like Christians today. They're just, they can say they're Jews, but they don't know even what the religion's all about. And they probably believe all the propaganda and lies and that anti-Semitism really exists. And just like a lot of Christians aren't really Christians and don't even know how serious this battle is and aren't worried about their souls. I mean, Benjamin Friedman and Henry Mackau and Rabbi Marvin Entelman and so many other Jewish intelligent men and women have been risking their lives, have risked their lives and everything else to try to warn us, Silver. Although, you know, it is a question in your mind, who's going to follow whom when the plug gets pulled? And if all these Jewish people in the United States are asked the question, you know, we control the United States now, you can be one of the prison guards or you can be one of the prisoners. Which shall you choose? What will these people choose? But then again, they could say that to Christians too, you know. You can choose to join the Luciferic team and help enslave your fellow man, or you can become one of the slaves. What will some of those Christians choose? Bellstar, hello everyone. All right, so I made a 2-hour live streaming event today. I thought this information was that important. Have I heard of Secretum Omega? I'll look it up. You guys always give me good words to look up, and I find exciting information I have to share. And I don't mean exciting necessarily in a good way. So anyways, finishing from this particular rabbi in these 97 pages I've collected that I wanted to talk about, but I don't think I was ready. But after today's video, maybe people will be ready for this material and believe it. But this rabbi says the Holy Torah is in unimaginable decline, especially now that the hated movement called Zionism has spread to our sorrow. Regarding them, it is stated in the prayer book, Zion cries bitterly, for they are the ones who extinguished the fire of our holy Torah. Anyone who fears God should flee from the Zionist and the Marachist as one flees from fire. So are you curious what's in these 97 pages? The white genocide, a plot, a Jewish plot. A culture of critique, an evolutionary analysis of Jewish involvement in the 20th century intellectual and political movements. Do you want to know this stuff? Can't find the title pages of this. Stop chasing ghosts. Communism is Jewish. The Jews have undoubtedly, to a large extent, furnished the brains and energy in the revolution throughout Russia. So you can see that it is a religious movement. against God, Jesus, and the 2/3 of the angels in heaven that did not revolt, and the 1/3 and their leader Lucifer and his prince Satan controlling planet Earth, and apparently the multitudes of people who are joining the satanic Luciferian revolutionary movement, i.e. Progressive, pansexual, etc., globalism, and all of that, calling Christian haters. So what are we to believe? The Vatican has a telescope in Alaska too. They turned down the treaty with the Palladians, according to Bell Star in the comments section. Silver says, yes, curious about tomorrow's revelations. Well, thank you for watching this Saturday's 2-hour live streaming event. I wanted to get the information out there from the morals and dogma material about Lucifer, the Moloch information in the Encyclopedia Judaica, and the information about Lucifer and Satan in The Prince of the World by William Guy Carr, which I will continue to be reading. Again, this is for myself also. I mean, some of this is just too hard to fathom. It boggles the mind. So have a good day on this Saturday. Thank you for watching my video, Rick Miracle reporting.